Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
The sounds and scenes from a community in mourning. This was 1 year ago, the very first vigil for the victims of the Humboldt Broncos bus crash. At the time, we saw thousands of people packed into Elgar Peterson Arena. Now, the people of Humboldt coming together again, marking the first painful anniversary of that tragedy. Robert Muench.
'Twas grace that taught my heart.
Is the mayor of Humboldt, Saskatchewan, and that's where we reached him this morning. Mayor Mitsch, thank you again. Really appreciate you coming on, as you have so many times since this tragedy struck your community. Let's talk about what we might expect at the memorial tomorrow.
Well, we've been working with families for a number of weeks and months now on this, and what they've told us is that they want to keep it to a positive theme with the theme Believe. So we're looking forward to getting together with the families as a community to be together on Saturday.
What your community was struck by, there is no blueprint for. How have you dealt with what you had to deal with over the last year?
Well, I think we've had a lot of help in doing that from outside and from within. Our community has been very to each other, very kind and very open about our reaction, and I think the influx of love and support from outside of our community has really helped us as well get through this. It hasn't been easy, I'm not going to lie, but it's the point now, I think, where we're moving forward day to day, and this is one, I call it the last of the firsts for the families that have been going through firsts throughout the year. First Christmas, first birthdays, and I'm hoping this is as the last. It's going to be a good time to get together with everybody and share our love.
The team went on, of course. The team went on and did well. What is your understanding of how the players were able to continue on?
Well, it was remarkable. I'm a season ticket holder, and my wife and I have been to most of the games this year, and just seeing the team, how early they gelled, and how the new players mixed in with the ones that returned, the two that returned, and just how everybody pulled together and under trying circumstances, and how the board and all the coaching staff worked together to get that team on the ice and to be very competitive this year. We were in first place for a number of weeks over the season, so you can't ask for more.
The hashtag Humboldt Strong has picked up, of course, on other cities and towns around the world that have been hit by tragedy, but it has applied, obviously, to your community as well. What has that phrase, that hashtag, come to mean to you?
Well, it's a strength of our community, but it's also, I think that strength is something that shows that not just being strong and dealing with it, but being strong in being emotional about it, being a shoulder to cry on and a hug, and that's, I think, the strength that we've gained over this. Like you said, it could be just a hashtag, but it was more than that in our community. It was just a real coming together.
The community, and as you say, you've had a lot of help. It seems to have done a lot right in all of this. The help seems to have been there, but the strength of the parents who I interviewed hours after it happened, yourself, the executives from the team, other communities have been hit by tragedy, whether this or terrorism or whatever. What would your message from the people of Humboldt be to the next community that is hit by the next big tragedy, where they lose family members, meaning those from their own community, and have to move forward? What's your advice?
Well, with the amount of help, I said we've always been grateful, and that gratefulness, I think, has helped us heal and helped us get through it. You can just be angry, and sometimes it's all in how you react to things that is how you heal inside. And I think the way our community has reacted is in a positive way, just trying to be with each other and that type of thing. So I think that is what the advice I would give to others is anger doesn't always work.
The thoughts of Canadians and people around the world will be with your community this weekend as you mark that anniversary. We'll be carrying it, of course, on many CBC platforms, but our thoughts are with you today and will be throughout the weekend. And once again, sir, your ability to come and speak and address what your community has been through is remarkable, and we thank you for that.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
In Humboldt, Robert Muench, the mayor of Humboldt, Saskatchewan. CBC News Network will be carrying the memorial live tomorrow, beginning at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 4:30 in Humboldt. Our CBC social media platforms will be sending out our broadcast as well. Stay with us. You're watching CBC News Network. Tomorrow will be the anniversary of the Humboldt Broncos bus crash. At the time of the accident, Kevin Garinger was the president of the Humboldt Broncos. In the aftermath of the crash, he became a familiar face, often taking time to communicate with Canadians who were feeling the grief and wanting to reach out. He was also a billet dad to Connor Lucan, one of the players who was killed in the crash, and we reached Kevin Garinger this morning in Humboldt. Sir, I want to thank you again for your time. You've become, as you, I think, know, a central figure in this tragedy that has affected the whole country. Tomorrow, 1 year marks the anniversary. How are you doing?
Oh, I think, like everyone, the anniversary, of course, is a difficult time for most, and certainly a time when we reflect on what's happened over the course of last year and even leading up to this year. So it's been a lot that's taken place, and everybody's on a different sort of place in their journey of healing and that sort of thing. And I know that the same applies for me. You can't help but have those anniversaries of the last time you saw some of the people who were near and dear in your heart. And certainly that is something that is impacting me as well.
The memorial will be taking place. That will be no doubt difficult for many. I guess, though, it's also part of the healing. How do you expect it will play out?
I think that, one of the things that was really important was to ensure that we honored the victims, all 29 victims of this tragedy, of course, and all 16 who have passed away. And so I think this is just it's an important part of that process. That it's an opportunity for families to come together and like I said, to recognize and to honor those who are no longer with us and those whose lives have been impacted forever. And so as a community, as a school division, we're preparing for all of that. We've worked hard with our students and staff in terms of bringing in key figures like Kevin Cameron, the executive director for the National or North American Center for Threat Assessment and Trauma Response. And Kevin's worked with Saskatoon Health or Saskatchewan Health as well, and certainly worked with our staff in preparation. So lots of things like that in order to prepare for what we know is obviously a very difficult day for so many, and that's something that we're very in tune with, and we're going to try and do everything we can to make sure our kids and our staff and of course community coming together, I think, is a good thing in trying to move past this particular, I don't like to call it a milestone, but this particular 1 year anniversary.
You stepped down as president of the Humboldt Broncos last year, but you're certainly, by all accounts, active in the Humboldt community, your presence, of course, at the memorial, all of this, and you speaking to us even today. Can I ask you, sir, what drives you?
Oh, I mean, I'm still on the Humboldt Broncos board and still acting as alternate governor and some of those kinds of things with the organization, because I care deeply about the team, about the community, about ensuring that we continue to honor those who are no longer with us, and so I think a driver for many people is the desire to want to help, and certainly that continues to be my motivation. I've moved into education because I wanted to help young people, and I wanted to support adults in terms of that process, and improve learning conditions and all those kinds of things. And certainly in this role, working within the community, there's so many great people that do so much, and certainly I'm just a small part of that, but certainly that is probably my greatest motivator, is just that desire to want to continue to help people, and I think that's what a lot of people are all about in terms of why they get involved in volunteerism and those kinds of things.
You, of course, were not only heavily involved in the team as you were, but also to be a billet parent as well. Connor Lucan, killed in the crash, posted in your home at the time of the accident. His story, the stories of also, as I understand it, you were friends with the assistant coach Mark Cross, dying in the crash as well. When you think of them, what are you remembering?
I think of all of them, and I remember the amazing people that they were. The fact that you had a leader like Darcy Hogan, who right in the middle of the playoffs last year, I don't know how many people if people are aware, but he stopped practice. Basically, they were going to have practice, and he took everyone out. There'd been a major snowstorm, and he took the athletes and staff and everything else, and they went out and they shoveled billet parents' driveways. They got on the radio, said that if there's anyone who needs help, the Broncos are there to help. I mean, these kids were in our schools. They were talking to our students. They were a big part of our community. Our young people aspired to be like these young people, and so it's certainly something that you reflect on who they were. You reflect on who Connor was, and Darcy and Mark and Dana and all of our young people that we've lost, and those who are with us. And what is so gripping is the fact that they were just such amazing people in life, and that's why you respect dearly what they brought to this community, and you'll continue to try and honor them as you move forward without them in your lives.
There were, of course, those who survived, those who have survived with injuries, and those who have struggled and overcome. The case of Ryan Strasnitsky, I spoke to his parents as they were in the airport going to get on a plane to see him in hospital with no real understanding of what condition they might find him in. Can you talk about his story, of course, going on to sledge hockey, and the others who have continued to be involved in the sport and to inspire?
Well, Ryan is he's not any different than any of the others. He's just an amazing young man. Ryan was someone who was certainly just an inspiration in terms of his attitude on life, but his attitude on life was that way when long prior to the accident. I think that you could look at Morgan Gobey, and you could look at Lane Matichuk and Jacob Wasserman and Xavier LaBelle, and the list goes on. These people have done they're inspirations to the world, and they were they continue to be, but they were inspirations in that way in our community long before this tragedy. So it's almost expected that would be the way it was. So you understand that they will continue to have incredible lives, and they will lead this world in terms of whatever they choose to do in it. And no question about that. Like I said, they're they continue to be inspirations for me and for so many others across this globe.
I think you can say that for sure without any contradiction. Kevin, I realize how difficult this was for you. I want to thank you for doing that and speaking to us. And the thoughts of the whole country will be with you and the rest of the Humboldt community during that memorial tomorrow. I want to thank you again for your time, sir.
Thank you, John.
Former Broncos president Kevin Garinger.